Yes, hi, this is Jim Delapine here. I'd like to give you some feedback on your character here, and it's really looking good, but there's still some things you need to do. First of all, make note here that you have adjustment layers here, but they're not clipping masks yet. So just make note that when you create an adjustment layer, it affects everything below that layer. Okay, so note that if I hide it, all those layers are affected. However, if you alt click in between the layers, it now is a clipping mask and it will attach only to the background shadow, okay, which is really the wrong choice. So just keep that in mind, okay? So, I mean, for example, levels, let's see here. I don't know what the settings you have for levels is, but it doesn't matter. But just make note that I'm trying to look at it for an example here. Any one of these layers here, if you create an adjustment layer for levels, for example, all right, it comes up over here, and then you immediately, what you do is you make it a clipping mask, okay, so that immediately attaches to the pixels of the underlying layer only, and any adjustments you make will affect only that layer. So for example, if I wanted to lighten that up a bit, note how that works, okay? So actually this should be lightened up a little bit, but I actually like how it is without the adjustment layer. So, but as long as you make it a clipping mask, you can get credit for it, okay? You also need to save and rename a channel, okay? So to do that, you can go to any layer mask for any item, control click on it, and then go to select, save selection, down at the bottom here, call it body, whatever it is, and then hit OK. So then what I do is I go into the channels and I say, he saved or she saved the selection as a channel. And then the purpose of this is that you can now reload this later on as a selection. So all you have to do is control click on it. Okay. So that being said, I want to also go in here and talk about how it looks like, I want these to look like they're sticking out of, whoops, what happened here? You have a duplicate perhaps. Yeah, it's a copy. I don't know why, but all right. So let's just, yeah, I would delete the copy. You don't need it. It actually gives a halo around it. But for the fork arm here, if you select the layer mask, you want to paint using a hard brush, 100% hardness. Okay. Whoops. So I'm now going to decrease my brush size using the left bracket key. Right bracket key will increase it. And now what I'll do is I'll click and drag in here, and now I have a hard edge. So you now have to kind of paint in here to make it look like it's sticking out of that, all right? And you also should create a shadow. So you'd also, for the straw, you would select the clipping mask and again paint with black on the layer mask to do that, to make it look like it's sticking out like a hard edge, or sticking into, I should say. All right, so if I reposition this here, position this up here, you kind of want to make a tear. So my suggestion would be if you control click here, you'll make a selection, okay? And that will contain an area. So and now if I make a new layer above that, and now what you can do is simply paint with black on that new layer now. So this way you can control it. I'm going to decrease my brush size. Just kind of hit the edge here. Whoops. Let me undo that. I should have black as my foreground color. Okay, because there would be kind of a shadow when it goes in. And then if I deselect, all right, you'll see that. So now you could, this is kind of tricky because you're really kind of new to this. So asking you to paint what looks like a tear would be very, very hard. So I don't expect that. But I mean, if you get a small brush size and you're up for the challenge, I would sample one of these darker blues here. Right, and then just kind of like on this new layer that you just created, you could kind of like maybe, I don't know, create a tear. I don't know if this is, but the big thing about this is the shadow. All right, you want to create a shadow for this. So if you create another new layer that's underneath the fork arm, Alright, so I'm going to select the layer below, then click New Layer. Then what you'll want to do is click on the foreground color, create or select a medium gray to dark gray, hit OK, and then select paintbrush tool that's a larger brush size. Alright, and then I'm going to paint with gray on this other new layer I created that will be underneath the fork, and then just do that kind of thing, okay? Alright, so that looks terrible, right? So what we'll do is now put this into multiply mode, and then what I'll do is I'll create a layer mask for that layer, okay? And then select a soft edge brush, 0% hardness, okay? Whoops. Right now, with soft edge hardness brush selected with black as my foreground color and a larger brush, I could kind of eat away or paint away the edges here. Right. This takes a little bit of finesse here, but since you're on your own layer, you're not going to ruin anything. You can also have more control if you lower the opacity of that brush. So it's lowering the intensity of the brush. So you can slowly eat away to really finesse it. Okay. Something else you could do is also go to the tool called the smudge tool, and with a right size brush you can now click and drag and pull these pixels down. Oh, I have the layer mask, so it doesn't work. Never mind. Let me just undo that. Alright, so when you're happy with the layer mask, when you're happy with what you've done, you want to right click on this and apply the layer mask. So that will get rid of it, and now these are regular pixels. Now you can click and pull these down a little bit if you want. Okay, so you're kind of smearing these pixels. So, so be aware of that. Okay, so that will help ground it to it. All right. Another thing I wanted to point out is it's logical that, okay, this candy could stick to the paper. That makes sense. And the gum could stick to the paper. That makes sense. I just wanted to show you something else that could be done. All right. I found these images here. I'll use... this is going to be, you know what, this is going to be too advanced, and I don't want to drive you crazy, because what you do have here does work. All right, I actually like the idea, so let's stay with that. But you'd want to now make it look like this paper is inside this box here. All right, so you'll do this. You need to create a shadow onto this paper. All right, so we're going to select this. Let me see what this is. So the face layer is above that, but you have the layer mask, so if I disable it, I see what's going on here. Okay, terrific. So again, I don't think you used a hard-edged brush on this. Let me just see this. Okay, so I will suggest that on this layer mask, you make sure your brush is at 100% hardness, and then you start to click in here and eat away to reveal the underlying layer. Oops, let me go back up to 100%. Alright, reveal that underlying edge here, okay, because that's important. It's kind of hard to see, but alright, so if you go too far, that's okay, but you want to really detect that edge. Alright, so see, I've gone too far here. Just swap your foreground and background colors, zoom in, and then really carefully bring that back. That's the beauty of the non-destructive editing. Okay, so now that you have that, okay, so that looks a lot cleaner. That looks like it's actually going inside that container. So we'll take it a step further. All right, so I'm gonna control click on the face layer mask. After I do that, I'm now going to create a new layer above that. So it's a brand new layer. So I have a selection. I'm going to be painting on that new layer, and I'm going to also use the dark gray, and I'm going to my paintbrush, and I will go to 0% hardness. All right, whoops, again. And now what I'll do is I'll increase my brush size a little bit, and I'll paint along this edge here. It's on the new layer, so I'm not painting on anything, okay? I'm actually painting on a blank layer. So you have control because it's on its own layer. All right, so you can go up, down, just something like that, and then put that new layer into multiply mode. All right, that's a true shadow. So that means you can lower the opacity of that. All right, but it looks like it's inside the container now. All right, so I think that will really help a lot. All right, so aside from that, this is looking really good. You have to certainly fix this here. All right, using the layer mask, using 100% hardness for your paintbrush. All right, make sure you paint with black, and with that layer mask active. Let me see here. Why isn't that working? That's for that layer there. So I have just to disable it. Oops. I must have. See, I accidentally painted on this then. Unless you did that. I don't know. Maybe I did, but it's been painted on the image. So enable layer mask, and now to fix that, all I have to do is take this leg here. I'll move it up a little bit. All right. So now with the layer mask active, I will go to my paintbrush tool. I'm in normal 100%, and now I have a selection active up top. That's why I'm not being able to paint. So let me deselect that. So now when I paint, okay, you can see here that now you have a hard edge, but you have to detect. You have to kind of create a tear and a shadow thrown onto this. So again, new layer. Control click on the layer mask, paint with gray, we'll go for 0% hardness, and maybe a little larger brush, go to multiply mode, and now you have to, now at least you have a shadow that kind of works. Alright, maybe a larger shadow and a lower opacity for the brush. Hide the selection and alright, something like that. Yeah. You may also want to simply paint with a solid black also to create an edge with 100% hardness and a smaller brush. You know, kind of like painting here. Whoops. Bring up my opacity. You kind of have to imagine what something sticking into a box would look like. Okay. Um, yeah, it's fair. It's fair. All right. So listen, I'm going to stop here. I hope that helped. Actually, there is one more thing. Oh, okay. Okay. So with this layer selected, okay, the garbage dump Dan, I'm going to control click on the T to create a selection. Then I'm going to come down to the background area and create a new layer on top. All right. I'm going to take this selection and fill that with black on that layer. Alt delete fills the foreground color. So I've now filled that layer with black. All right. You can't see it because it's down with on a layer below. So let me let me just deselect, and now it's underneath Dan here. Okay, so if I go to my move tool and hit my down arrow key, I'll start to see that move down. Okay, so I'm going to bring that down here, and then what I'm going to do is, now you can use type for this also. So I'm going to just deselect. I'm going to delete rather Dan. All right, well, now come down here and zoom out. Then I'm going to hit Control T to scale him up, and Shift Alt will scale out from the center point. This is certainly, I don't think this is the right font to do it, but I don't know. All right. I'm also going to go to Edit Transform Perspective, and now pull this out to match the perspective of the floor. Okay. I can also hold the Control key down to do that. So let me hit Enter, and I went a little bit too far. I went too far. All right. So let me scale this up. What I'm trying to do is match the lines in the floor. All right, so let me hit enter, and let me try this a different way, because the perspective is, the lines are dramatic, more dramatic on the left side. So I'll hold down the control key and pull out the left bounding box on the bottom, and I'm lining it up with the lines in the grain of the wood on the floor here. Then I'll control click on the right one and pull that out, and that's more of a dramatic um, change, because yeah, see all the lines, but something like that would be fine. Okay. Then what I'll do is control click on that layer to put a selection around all opaque pixels, hide the layer, select the background layer, and hit control J. That will copy and bring whatever in that selection to the layer above. So it looks like that. So now what you do is double click on that layer and create a layer style for bevel and emboss. And I would experiment with this. Um, you can get dramatic. You can change the light source. Changing the light source seems to help a lot. Outer bevel. Um, so I would say experiment with this and see what you can come up with. It seems like the light source is going to really define the shape of the text. So get the right one. I'm not having too much luck here. But once you find something, all right, that's reasonable, all right, you then can also, like for example, apply a color overlay to help the text be more readable. And you can also, like this is, I'm going to make sure this is viewable. You can click on this color box, and once you drag your cursor outside this color picker box, you can sample a color. So let's say we choose blue of the box, okay? I'll hit OK. That will now turn blue, and you can increase the opacity of it. And I don't know, it's something to consider, something to fool around with. All right. So this way it could just be Dan. You may want to put garbage dump on the wall using that technique. All right. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going on way too long. I hope that helped. Okay. Bye.